Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show with host Stephanie Vivier.
Well, hello, Rob Golfi. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. You know, we're getting little teasers of the weather. You know, one day hot, one day a little chillier, but it's, hopefully we'll have a full week of beautiful weather where, you know, you could put the sunroof open and the windows down and just enjoy the breeze from just driving around. That's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. We're getting there little by little. It's Mother's Day weekend. Hopefully mom gets a good day to enjoy the day. That would be a real gift, wouldn't it?
It would be. It would be. Yeah. Mother's Day weekend. I'm not sure what the weather's supposed to be like, but I haven't looked. But I'm sure the barbecues will be going regardless of weather, as long as they got a canopy to cover themselves. And but yeah, looking forward to a nice good weekend this weekend, and enjoying just taking it easy and just going with the flow. That's it.
You got it. You got it. Well, I am always looking forward to our discussions, Rob, because we get a chance to catch up on all the things happening. So what's been going on in real estate in your life this week?
So a lot of people now, the market, is not as good. I was looking at the first half of last year versus the first half. Well, we're almost through the first half of this year, which is the end of June. The numbers are way different this year versus last year, and the unit sales are down definitely. And I think what it is, there's the tariff wars. Interest rates I don't think is a factor right now. Interest rates are pretty decent. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like it was 1 or 2%, but that is an anomaly. I don't think we'll see 1 or 2% again. That was just to keep get the market going again after COVID, but they should have dropped the interest rates, increased the interest rates a lot earlier than keeping them down that long, which drove the market so insanely high. But now we're finding a lot of people are just kind of sitting around waiting and not making a decision on making a buy until they see what happens with this tariff war, not only going with the United States, but worldwide. I mean, like we don't know what's going on. And plus with the new election, it looks like they're doing a lot of changes with this election. I'm sure you've been talking about it on the radio with, cars that are built past before 2000. What people are going to do with these cars that they have them, right? Like, that's going to be an issue. Like, people like to drive those cars on the weekends and enjoy. Same thing with the tinted windows and whatever else that he's implementing. So there's a lot of changes happening in this world. And so people are just kind of sitting back and watching and see where, the next month is going to take or the next year is going to take.
Yeah, it's all really, really up in the air. When you look back, Rob, we had that COVID time, and I think interest rates were kept pretty low, and that's when we really saw the real estate market skyrocket. Do you think that was an error by the Bank of Canada? Do you think they should have been a little bit more cautious, and perhaps we wouldn't be in this situation where houses, got in that crazy out of control range? What do you think? Kind of looking back at that all now?
Yeah, they just they try to stimulate the market too much, and it did, but it overdid, and it caused a lot of problems. A lot of people out there got in trouble because of it. A lot of people made a lot of money because of it, and but they should have. But when they were moving the interest rates up, they should have done it a lot earlier. And when they drove the interest rates down for COVID, they shouldn't have dropped it as much as they did. They really it was good for people that were renewing mortgages or buying a house and put a 5-year term on there. But if you got used to that mortgage payment and then all of a sudden you had to jump from 1.5% to 5 or 6%, believe me, a lot of people couldn't afford to keep their houses. They had to sell them. And then what happens is they may, and not only that, they may have a little bit of equity, maybe not that much, depending on what time they bought. And it's like starting all over for those people. They sold their houses, they paid their debts off, and now they got maybe, who knows, maybe they got maybe $10,000, $20,000 in the bank, and now they don't own a house, they're renting. And now they got to start all over again to buy a house, because houses are not cheap. Even though, from the height, they did come down, but they're still expensive. and they're going to stay like that. They're not going to go down anymore. We bottomed out, and this is whatever the prices are now. That's bottomed out. That's it. It's not going to go down. But what's happening though, it's not going up either. So it's kind of flatlining. And so we got a lot of people out there, that were homeowners for maybe 3-4 years, and now they're back to renting again, and it's become tough for those people. And what happens is when you sell a house, you have some equity, you pay off your credit cards, you pay off whatever debt you have and everything, and then you got nothing in the bank. And now you don't have a property that could appreciate in value in the future. So for instance, like, things are going to turn around. There's no doubt about it. It has, and it has done in the last, 75, 80 years or 100 years. My parents bought their house for $15,000, and, we sold it in 2021 for close to 600,000. And it's priced that much now on the street, because it did skyrocket even after that, and then drop back down to that around those numbers. So look how far it's gone up in 50 plus years, 55 years. So the thing is, owning real estate is always a good investment. But renting is cheaper now than owning real estate, like monthly cost wise. So you have to, and that's the problem right there that we're having.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot. What do we say? If you don't learn from the past, you're destined to repeat it, or something like that, right? So it is important, I think, to really kind of take stock and look back at things like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So there's this a stat that came out, and it said 1 out of every 3 Canadians say down payments are blocking home ownership right now. Yeah, like it's tough. And
remind us what the rules are right now about the down payments. Like, how much do we actually need to save up before we can buy a house?
So if it's a first-time buyer, even if you let's say you bought a house and then you sold it and haven't owned a house for a couple of years, now you want to go back in, you can go back in with 5% down, first-time buyer. Now and buy a house. So right now, let's say if you're buying a $700,000 house, you need $35,000 for the down payment. Then you need another probably $5,000 or $7,000 for the land transfer tax, and then you need probably another $1,500 to $2,000 for the legal fees. And who knows? I'm not even sure what other fees are there, but like it adds up to, like, you need $50,000 in your bank right now to buy maybe a $700,000 house with 5% down, to cover the land transfer tax and to cover the legal fees and CMHC insurance. I mean, they just add that onto your mortgage, and that even sometimes that works out to like 3.5%. So really, you only have 1.5% equity in your house when you move into your house, when you buy it. So but over time, it does build up. You'll build the equity up as time goes on. And anybody that's buying now, don't expect your house to go up in 6 months or a year. It will go up. I'm predicting between 18 months to 2 years, you're going to start seeing the growth of equity in your house and the economy picking back up again, where housing will start climbing again. And I know it. I mean, it's already high now. But it's gonna continue on. I remember, we were looking at townhouses. I bought this one townhouse as an investment years ago, and I paid, I think it was $98,000 for it, and it was like, but back then that $98,000 townhouse was an investment property I bought, was affordable even as an investment or even as a person to move in. And I mean, it was one of those townhouses, it doesn't have a private drive. It had a parking lot where you had a designated parking spot and all that kind of stuff. And it was a townhouse. Yeah. It was a townhouse, and it was affordable. Like, I mean, like anybody could have bought those. The rents would have covered whatever mortgage, even if you went in with 5% down. With the interest rates at the time and everything else like that. But it just, it's not like that anymore. Like, that same townhouse is going for close to $500,000. And, $500,000, with 5% down and to rent it out, it's tough. The rent doesn't cover the expenses, like for that townhouse. So the times have changed, and you're not going to see as many of those for rent coming up in the next 5 to 10 years, just because they're too expensive to buy as an investment. And so so it's going to be mostly homeowners that are going to buy it. And then the people that are looking to rent, they're going to end up, the only stuff that's going to be available is in apartment buildings. And so so in the future, a lot of people are going to be stuck raising their families in apartment buildings or condo buildings that are for rent. You're not going to see too many detached homes or townhouses or semis that are going to be for rent. It's just not the investment is not worth it. Now, if they've owned it for, over 10, 20 years, and most people have, if they're paid for, it'll work, but not for, it's not going to be for a person. You're not going to see new buyer investors buying them as an investment. Those buyer investors are going to buy, fourplexes, triplexes, duplexes, whatever, where it has more income generating to support that investment purchase.
I wonder if we're going to see more of those being built though anyway, Rob, because of that investor angle, and also because we're really pushing toward, densification. We need to fit, more homes, the smaller footprint, that sort of thing makes things more affordable. And like you're saying, if investors are only interested in those kinds of properties, might not be the worst thing considering we do have a supply issue.
We do have a supply issue, but some neighborhoods, it depends on where. There's one right now in Etobicoke. This guy wanted to build 2 fourplexes in a residential neighborhood, and they're all bungalows. And these are I think they're 3-story tall. And so we're talking these fourplexes are going to be, pretty high, and it doesn't look good in that neighborhood. So the residents are fought really hard to stop that, and they did. And just because it doesn't suit the neighborhood, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Nobody wants, you got a whole street. I on the street that I grew up on, all bungalows. There is no 2 stories. Can you imagine all of a sudden somebody builds 2 towers in the middle of this court, this street, and it just doesn't look good. I mean, even the townships and municipalities, and they should understand that. I mean, if it's a neighborhood where there's 2 stories and bungalows and all sorts of different types, yeah, do something. But don't throw the neighborhood into an ugly looking, you drive down the street and you see these 2 towers, and then everybody else is it doesn't look good. And nobody wants those next door. There's a reason why people bought those bungalows. They wanted to move into a nice, quiet neighborhood. Otherwise you got 2 fourplexes next door to each other. You're gonna have parking issues. You're gonna have problems. You're gonna have tenants fighting against each other because they're in close quarters, and and then you're gonna have the police showing up. It can get really ugly for a neighborhood. So. But yeah, it's just, it's tough. It's tough.
It is. Yeah. And to come up with that $50,000, there's also rules, Rob, where doesn't the money have to be in your account? When they're looking to give you the mortgage approval, they want to see that money, right?
They do want to see that money. They want a paper trail. When I started buying real estate, when I was in my early 20s, they didn't care about the paper trail. They just said, hey, they didn't even care if you had the money in the bank. They just said, hey, if you can close on that day, we'll give you the mortgage. That's it. So, but that totally changed. It was easier to buy houses, 0 down payments and all that kind of stuff way back in those days. But now they want to see a paper trail. They say, hey, okay, we know you got the money in the bank. And they can tell if you saved it, because they could see your history of savings, but let's say somebody just dropped it in there. They want to know, okay, where did that money come from? Is it your parents? Is it who is this, and is it a loan or is it a gift? It's all that kind of stuff. So they are very strict now, these banks, and they want to know everything about your financial situation, not just buy a house and here's the down payment. It's not like the old days.
Yeah, they want to see it all. And you just mentioned, getting that money from mom and dad. And that is a way that many people have been able to afford homes. But Rob, you have some cautions for us when it comes to gifting your child money for down payments. And that's what we're going to talk about next here on the Golfi Real Estate Show. Rob Golfi is sticking around. Hope you will too. We'll be back next here on News Talk 610 CKTB.
I know the importance of hiring the best agents.
I'll take a photo of your house and post it on the World Wide Web.
Next,
our multi-million-dollar marketing system reaches tens of thousands of potential home buyers every day.
Go to robgolfi.com and put the best team to work for you.
And welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us today. And as always, Rob giving us great insight into the real estate market. And I love that you really hone in on today. It's not about what's happening last year or the year before that. It's what's happening today in real estate. Something that has been going on for a while is that young people have been getting money from their parents for the down payment. In our last segment, you were just talking about how much money people need for the down payment and how that's really a big hindrance to be able to gather those kinds of funds all together. And so going to the bank of mom and dad has been more and more popular. However, we've got some cautions for us before a family goes ahead and does that.
Yeah, so a lot of families. The only way to afford to buy a house is a lot of the times is getting money from your parents or grandparents or whatever. So what happens is the parents, they say their child, they say, hey, I want to buy a house, no problem, we're willing to help you. But then what happens is that child ends up having a partner that they bring in and to live with them. Now, let's say the parents give $100,000 or more, and a year later the kid's new partner moves in. Fast forward 2 years, and now the partner wants half of the equity of the house. So let's say they bought a $100,000 house, and the parents gave $100,000. So he's got a $600,000 mortgage on there. And let's say the house has gone up $100,000. So now the $700,000 house is worth $800,000 house. So he's got $200,000 in equity. 100 of it was gifted by the parents. And now he brings in the partner. Everything's great. He didn't have anything signed or anything. Now the partners leave and say, hey, I want half the equity of the house. Well, half the equity is there's $200,000 there. He's going to want $100,000. And that partner can legally get it. And it could be a big problem. Now, the parents are going, whoa, wait a minute. We gave you this $100,000 deposit. Now this person comes in and is taking it. It happens all the time. It happens. I see it all the time. And it's one person bringing in more money or all the money for the down payment. And then all of a sudden somebody moves in and then all of a sudden there's a breakup and they end up taking half of the down payment and half of the equity. Now, half of the equity is fine if they're contributing, but not half of the down payment. So, it becomes a big battle, and it becomes a very tough situation for the parents because they felt like, wow, this person ends up walking away with money, and then their poor child still has the house, but now he's got $100,000 mortgage bigger than it was, or unless they sell the property. And so, but you should always, I get it. Love is I love you forever. I get it. We are meant for each other, this and that. But you know what? And some people are afraid to say to their partner, say, listen, you know what? My parents gave the gift. They're not going to let you move in. Well, they can't stop because obviously the house is in your name. And, but they want me to have you sign something saying, hey, you can't touch my equity. You can't touch it. And if they don't sign, I wouldn't let them move in. I'm sorry. But if they got zero, if you got a partner that's got zero and says, no, I'm not signing that. Well, get out. I don't even want you in here. I'm telling you, because if they're not willing to sign, that means they're willing to screw you over pretty bad. And if you have to negotiate with somebody that has no money and you're the one that has the money, I don't think that's the right partner for you in the first place. You know that? Like you're bringing somebody in with no money, and they are now, acting like, well, I want half if we break up. Well, you had nothing when you came in. You should, Like, I'm willing to give you half of the equity of growth, but not any of my parents' money that gave me for his gift to keep this house. So you got to be very careful on that. Get stuff in writing. Parents, I'm telling you, you may like the partner that's moving in with your child, and you don't think anything's going to happen. It's always good to be cautious and just have them sign something. And they shouldn't. And people that really love their partner, and they shouldn't have a problem signing something, especially if they had nothing to start with. But now, if they've got something, like if they're of equal value, and listen, if you got 100,000, I put 100,000, then you put write a check, and we'll pay down the mortgage another 100,000, and we're good. But be careful. Like, there's a lot of, I'm telling you, I see it all the time when there's breakups, and then when the parents get involved, and they are more upset than the child because it was the parents' money that they gave, and now that half that money that they gave as a gift is going to a partner of their child that is leaving them, or whatever the breakup is, and it's a sad story.
Yeah, Rob, I have many stories that could go along with this as well. But what you're referring here to is a cohabitation agreement. And actually, one of my niece just, and her partner were moving in together, and they came up with one of these. And, I used to I guess maybe we get a little cynical, or because we have these experiences, Rob, when we get older. But when I was younger, before I get married the first time, I thought, oh, prenups, no way, equal partners, all these things. But over time, I've come to think of, a prenup, a cohabitation, those kinds of things. It's insurance, right? Like, we've got insurance on the house. We hope nothing happens to it. We've got insurance in the car. We hope we never get in that accident.
Yeah.
But if we need it, it's there, right? So it's just like we do insurance with everything else in our life. Why wouldn't we do it with this?
Exactly. I'll give you an example of somebody that I know. Very wealthy family. The son, is involved in this company, and the fiance was supposed to sign an agreement. Like, I mean, there's a lot of wealth involved here, the companies and everything else like that. And he can't get married unless his fiance signs a prenup, right? And she didn't have anything, right? Even if she signed it, she'd still be a millionaire, even if they divorced, right?
Yeah, it's not like she gets nothing.
It's no. Like, I mean, she's pretty well set. Even as a divorced person, she's pretty well set. Like, so she, prolonged it. And she said she was going to sign it the day of the wedding. She didn't sign it. The wedding got canceled. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, he couldn't.
Wow.
He couldn't marry her. But I don't get it. Why? Why would this lady not sign something that, like, he's got a business to run, and he cannot, like, in his family's business, he cannot have that business falter in any way. But they still had the reception dance because it was already paid for. But there was
that's it, right?
That's it.
Everyone's
Yeah.
already there.
Oh,
I know. Already got dressed up, and
so everybody got a free dinner and dancing that night without having to give an envelope for the wedding. So that was. So I mean, might as well. I mean, the food's paid for, everything's all paid for, but yeah, they didn't get married. And why?
Sounds like she was trying to play the game that, she was making a bet. She made a gamble. If everyone shows up, they're going to save face and just go through with this wedding, and I don't have to sign this thing.
Oh yeah, she was rolling the dice on that one, and maybe she didn't think they were gonna. He was gonna bail out, but he had no choice. But now, see, I see something like that. This lady had a lot to gain, even with a prenuptial. But she didn't want to sign it, and I don't understand why. Like, you are coming into a relationship with nothing, and even if you left this relationship in 2 years or 1 year, you're gonna leave this relationship pretty well off. But I think greed got in the way of that, but it was good that marriage didn't happen, because you know what? That just showed you what kind of person this person is.
Yeah.
And I'm talking on one side. I know I am. But I mean, for me, if I had, let's say, if I met somebody and they were super wealthy, and I'm doing pretty good myself, and they wanted me to sign, hey, listen, I as long as I get to keep what I got, you get to keep what you got, no problem. I'm good on my own, right? But I'm not gonna. I get it. Like, I mean, if you love somebody enough, you know what I mean? Like, if you come in with nothing, you're not going to leave with nothing. You're going to be leaving a little better off than nothing. So why is there's always battles? There's always battles with the relationship, but it is good to have it. You got to have a cohabitation agreement or a partnership agreement. Like, for instance, let's say two couples, a couple gets together. One has got lots of money and puts, 50% down payment on the house. The other one doesn't. They should have a cohabitant agreement. Say, hey, listen, if we divorce and, okay, we'll split the equity that grows. Let's say they bought a house for $1 million. It grows to $2 million. Well, he gets his $500,000 original, and they split the $1 million gross. So he gets another 500, and the other partner would get 500 or something like that. That's not a bad deal for somebody coming in with zero. But you got to have something in writing. You got to, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes people, they feel like their partner won't do anything. But like you said, that's the insurance policy, and it's always good to have that insurance policy.
More and more people need to do that as, finances get more complicated and housing gets more expensive. It's just it's just a little piece of paper, and don't let it get in the way of love, Yes.
Yeah. Love is complicated. That's for sure.
It is.
Oh boy.
Also, what is complicated, Rob, is what you do every day, the work you do every day, which is, listing and selling homes. And so you, with many years of experience and knowledge, what to write and what not to write when advertising a property. But this can get other realtors into trouble if they don't understand the things that they are supposed to do and not supposed to do.
Oh, this is big for realtors, and they have to be careful what they write down. And I'm gonna give a perfect example, something that happened to me in my first year of real estate. And some people might remember this story. I'm not sure if I told this story once before. So I had this elderly couple. He was a retired electrician. And I'm not sure what his wife did, but they were retired. And I go to the house and everything. Older house, right? Big older house. It was a good size house. It was, So I'm walking through the house and everything, and he's telling me all the details, everything he's done to the house. I'm in the basement. He said the whole house has been rewired. I go, okay. And I'm looking through all the rafters and everything, and it looks like it was rewired, right? And he's an electrician, right? You would believe electrician, right?
Right,
and so we, get everything done. I write up the write-up, all new wiring throughout the house, because it was an older house, and that would have been an attractive feature that people would look at. Say, hey, well, the wiring's all been redone. So anyway, as time goes on, we sell the house. The buyer buys the house and gets some kind of electrician to find out. On the second floor, there was old knob and tube wiring in there. And I go,
oh, no.
And I go, what? I go, that's impossible. I go, this guy's an electrician. He told me it's all new wiring throughout the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the homeowner and sat down with the husband and wife, and they're elderly couple. And I said, guys, I sat down with the husband, and you said to me, and I remember this vividly, that you said this was all new wiring in this house. He didn't say a word. He quietened up. And you know what? He quietened up. So,
no.
And then the wife goes, Rob, it's mostly new wiring. That's what we said to you. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I know I'm dealing with. Yeah, I was upset. But you can't fight that, right? I was upset.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a valuable lesson. So,
and what was the lesson? To confirm, you should have said are you sure it's all new wiring? Like, what do you do in that situation? Like, your clients lied to you.
So they lied to me. So, and I put down all new wiring. So it's my job as a realtor to verify information.
Okay.
So whatever information is on that listing, it's got to be verified. So my job was to verify it. So if I put that in writing, I'm on the hook for that house for new wiring.
Okay.
So there's no way. This thing could have gone to court. So I ended up paying out. This is my first year. I ended up paying out $2,500 to the buyer out of my own pocket to make sure that she could do whatever wiring she needed to do for the second level. And $2,500 back then, we're talking like 27 years ago when I started in real estate. So, but you know, there's other, we'll talk about other stories after the break. I know we're coming up to a break here. So.
Okay, that's great. I love to hear all of your stories, Rob. Rob Golfi is here with the #1 real estate team in Canada, the Golfi Team, 905-641-0308. Rob's sticking around. You should too. This is News Talk 610 CKTB.
Are you worried about selling your home on time and for the most money? Hi, I'm Rob Golfi. Every year we invest millions of dollars in our advanced marketing system, ensuring your home is seen by tens of thousands of potential buyers. We don't just hope it sells, we make it sell.
And welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is here. And Rob, just before the break, you were giving us some cautionary tales about the things you should say and shouldn't say in advertising real estate. And you gave us a great story about how you really learned a big lesson in your first year of real estate. You trusted your clients. But the takeaway I took from that story was a trust but verify approach.
You have to verify everything. If they say they've done stuff behind the walls, don't put it in. I'm not putting it in unless they want to sign a sheet of paper that's saying that they actually did it. So a lot of times, you know, we won't say all new vinyl I don't say all new vinyl windows. I'll say all vinyl windows. I won't say new because I don't know how new they are, and I don't know if they replaced them, you know, over a period of time. I don't say new roof. I say new shingles. Or new shingles, 2000, you know, I'll put a year when they were put on. You really got to verify. I don't say, like a lot of houses that built in the 70s have aluminum wiring, so you got to be very careful with that. What you say about the wiring. There's so many different things that are included, especially with condos, or you know, you could put down water is included, water, cable, and this and that, and it isn't included. And guess what? You're buying cable TV for the buyer that bought that place for the next 5 years. So,
oh no!
Oh yeah. So realtors, their job is to verify all information. Like let's say you purchased a property, and all of a sudden, right behind the property you purchased, a high rise is going up, and our job is to know that. We should know that, because if you bought a house and all of a sudden they start digging like 6 months later in the backyard of your house, and there's going to be a 20-story building going in there, you wouldn't have bought that house if you knew that was happening. So, you know, you gotta know what's going on behind. You know, you can't say to people, this is going to be green space forever. It's never going to be green space forever. Eventually, it could be not in this lifetime, but eventually something may change that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we know how, you know, so you have to be very careful of, you know, what you say. You can't say high and dry basement. What if there's a leak? You know what I mean? You say, oh, high basements, high basement ceilings. You know, there are so many different things that you have to be careful. And it's good to question it, though. Like, you know, when you read it, like you know, now I'll just say mostly all new wire, mostly new wiring, right? And so you're not saying it's all new wiring. You're saying it's mostly new wiring. And then they can question, just say, well, all I know is the homeowner verified that this is all new wiring here. But you guys have to verify yourself with your own electrician. Anything beyond that, I've been through all that, through different little things here and there, and you get smarter, right, as you go on. And our team, they know, we train them to make sure that they don't, you know, do the same thing with new wiring. You know, like a lot of houses built in the 50s and 60s, you know, the wiring's older, but it is still okay, but they're usually on fuses. They should be turned into breaker panel. What other major things that we come across? You know, sometimes people have redone their landscaping and changed the culvert of the way water should be flowing through the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden they get a big flood in their backyard that's coming into their house. if you know there's new fresh landscaping, you better make sure it's done professionally, because otherwise, I mean, you're insured for that. But a lot of times you got to watch your insurance policy to see if you have overflow flood insurance, and that means water coming from outside into the basement versus a flood happening within the house inside, like let's say a backup sewer or anything like that. You got to be careful and look for that. But there's so many different things you got to be, and the agent's on the hook for it. The homeowner can get away with it. He can, and they always, sometimes they'll lie, say, "Well, I never told him that this was new. I never said that." Like, well, look what happened to me. They left me hanging. They literally left me hanging, and the husband couldn't. You could tell the husband was a good guy, and like she was a tough lady, and she basically said, "I'm going to do the talking. You don't say a word." And you could tell he felt bad. You could tell, like he's going, "Oh my God! Like, look what we did to this guy." Like, I was a young real estate agent, and they basically, threw me under the bus, and what am I going to do? So
ultimately, the realtor is on the hook for whatever it is that you write.
The realtor is on the hook for anything we write on there. So you got to be very, very careful. So as a buyer looking at something, and if they read this, and if that's not there, they can go after the realtor that listed that property, and he's on the hook. Guess what? Most good realtors will take care of it and fix it. But there's a lot of not so good realtors out there, and then you got to battle them, and then you got to take them to court, and they'll lose. I mean, and some of them, they're not too smart, and they'll lose, and it'll end up costing more money. So you're better off, fixing the problem right away with the buyer and just going ahead. And hopefully it's not too expensive. I mean, I've seen some major expensive situations that happen with realtors out there, from stories I've heard that, oh boy, like it could cost them $50,000, $100,000. And you know what? And insurance companies, I mean, they won't cover that. Like a lot of things, especially if you're new, like, you got to be very careful there. I've seen where there's basement walls that they've curved in. You know how sometimes they bow in from the outside, like the block walls, and homeowners, they will re-stud that basement. So you don't see that. And no. And sometimes what happens is eventually, let's say there's a problem or a leak and they rip out the wall. They can go back to that homeowner and say, "Hey, you knew about this problem. You hid it from us. We're coming after you. We're suing you." And they'll be on the hook for it. The agent won't be on the hook for that because he didn't know. And obviously the seller of the house didn't tell the agent. So it just goes through. But you have to be very, very careful. So there's all these different plans. And I can tell, like, you know what I mean? When I walk through a house, I know right away if there's problems with it or not. And just looking, just walking around, especially the basement tells a big story. It tells a lot of stories. And same thing on the main floor. But, I mean, sometimes you get missed. You don't know what's behind the walls. And some people get worried about little fine cracks in the basement floor. But... And they don't buy a house because those fine cracks on the basement floor. Like every basement, I'm going to tell you, has fine cracks in it. And
that's pretty normal, right?
But they'll buy a house that's covered with carpet or whatever, and they don't see it. And they got like, do you know? And the cracks are probably even bigger on those basement floors, but you can't see it. And they'll buy that house. And it's just funny how people look at things. If they see it, they get scared. If they don't see it, it's covered up. They're willing to buy it. And I go, I'd be more scared to buy something that you can't see than what you can see.
Yeah, it's an interesting psychology. Rob, you must run into, when you're representing buyers, an agent, and you're reading something and you're kind of like, this doesn't smell right. Do you call that out with the other agent when you feel like there's something off right away? Or do you kind of like let that sale go through and then take it up after?
No, we try to put it out in the forefront right away and deal with it. And we don't want the new buyer, homeowner buying something and all of a sudden they got major issues on it. It could be like, like a house. It's funny. People buy houses faster than they buy cars. You know what I mean? And they buy houses like a house, like it's an expensive, part of thing to buy. And I've seen people buy houses, walk in, walk out, put an offer in. Like, I mean, they're in and out in 15, 20 minutes, put an offer in, not even worry about home inspection or anything like that. And then they move in and they got problems, and they didn't need to do that. Like, you know what I mean? So like, and don't ever have an agent push you into buying a house without any inspections or anything, or without putting any a clause of financing, especially if you're not in competition. If you're not in competition, whether you can afford to pay cash, I'd go in with a condition of financing and home inspection, and also insurance. Call your insurance company and say, listen, I'm buying a house on this street. This is the house. What is my policy going to be like? Who knows? Maybe that street is prone for flooding, and they're going to say, well, we're not going to insure that house for you, because we don't want that policy because there's a lot of flooding on that street. And you don't find that out till you move in. Well, I mean, you know, you're going to find out if you did check with your insurance company, but if you don't, you're going to end up finding out that you can't get insurance when after you firmed up the deal, and now you're scrambling, and then you're going to end up paying a lot more money, or they won't insure you for floods. They say, hey, we'll insure your house, but you're not insured for floods. And so you got to be very, very careful on that aspect of it. But like, you know, there's so many things you got to be very careful when you're buying a house. And the funny thing is, a lot of, like, especially country properties, a lot of realtors out there from outside the area don't know about country properties. Buy somebody that knows about country properties. If you're going to buy a house in the country, don't just buy it, you know, because he's your relative, your friend, or whatever, your friend's friend. Buy it that understands it. When it, you know, I know the right questions to ask when we're walking through thing. I know if a septic bed is 60 to 75 years old, those are garbage right now. Every company, if there's a septic bed that was a house built in the 50s and 60s and they have a septic bed and they haven't changed it, they're garbage. They're made out of clay tile, and they're all filled with dirt, and it's not giving you the proper sewage that you need for your septic system. So you got to be very careful about that.
Rob, we are coming up to the end of the show, but I do want to make sure we talk about the very exciting event that you have coming up. And I know you've done this before, so I'm really excited to see that it's coming back, and it's called Win in Any Market. It's happening at Liuna Station in Hamilton, happening on Wednesday. May 14th already is coming up. That's crazy. So tell us about this awesome event.
So we do this about twice a year. It's called Win in Any Market, and it's for realtors, but also for entrepreneurs. This is a great event that we put on for free, and what it does is it shows people how to, you know, do more business, how to get business, and how this business is the best business in the world for you, especially if it's realtors that, let's say you want to be a realtor, you're thinking of becoming a realtor. This is a good event to go to, or you're just starting and you're struggling. This is a good opportunity to network and also learn more about the business. I teach a lot about how to do this business with no money. You don't need a lot of money to do this business, and and this business is not cheap. It's pretty expensive, but there's ways of doing it, and you can make a good living at it. And especially for entrepreneurs, I'll tell you, they'll learn a lot just from what we teach. And we got a speaker coming in from I think he's from California. He's flying in, and he's going to be speaking for us too. But so it's at Liuna Station. Just Google Win in Any Market event or whatever. .com, Win in Any Market, or, you know, just put Golfi beside Win in Any Market, and you'll see a registration there. Go to Liuna Station. It's been a great event. We've done this, I don't know how many years now, but it's a great event that you need to look at, and it'll change your life. I promise you that it'll change your life, what you're going to learn from this.
Well, that's so exciting. It's a really positive day. And that's what I really love from our conversations, Rob, because I do, you know, cover the news on the daily basis. And sometimes it's some glummy, bummy stuff out there. And I know you're a really positive guy. So it's exactly the thing that people need, right? To just get that influx of positivity. And it's not all so bad. There's good things happening.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So we'll check out Win in Any Market. Also, just want to mention quickly before you go, the Golfi Property Management, and maybe on a further show we can get a little bit deeper into this, but that company's going well, and it's such a great gift for those who own rental properties.
Absolutely. If you don't have a rental property, you don't want to manage it. We vent out tenants to make sure that you get the right tenant in your house. You're not going to have any problems. Bad tenants will have a tendency of not going through a property management company because they know we're going to check them out very thoroughly. But if you got an investment property, it's becoming a little bit of a burden for you, like it's getting too much. Give us a call, Golfi Property Management. You can call me at my office or whatever, and then we can take a look at it and chat about it. So our property management business will take care of your investment, and you'll never have to worry about it, and you'll see your value of your property grow without the headaches.
All right, great stuff. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
This has been the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. If you want to get a hold of Rob and the #1 real estate team in Canada, the Golfi Team, 905-641-0308, robgolfi.com. This is News Talk 610 CKTV.